Alistair, your good looks are intact, but how have you dealt with the injury you've had to deal with of late?
Yeah, it feels much better, which is nice. Again, just kind of following the advice of the medical team with the mask. I think everyone knows if you've played the sport, it's not ideal wearing something like that. It can always just kind of get in the peripheral vision a little bit and just knocks you off your game just a touch. But at the same time, is that was something that could speed me up to get me back on the pitch and keep everyone happy, including myself. So yeah, no, I'm happy with how the injury's feeling. I think at this point it feels pretty much as good as it was before. And yeah, I think the looks are still intact if they were there in the first place. But yeah, no, we're feeling good. Thank you.
Did you find it challenging to play wearing the mask?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, at the same time, they do a really good job with it in terms of doing like a 3D image of your face and making it so it fit perfectly. But still, it's just something that you're not used to. And again, as a defender, trying to head the ball, trying to track the fly of the ball, all those kind of things, just kind of frustrate you. And of course, the first half wasn't going exactly as we planned, so I think it was kind of a bit symbolic just to take that off and move on. And I think the second half was much better.
How was the moment it happened for you? How scary was that? Can you talk us through how it unfolded from your point of view?
Yeah, it was a weird one because obviously I've gone up for plenty of challenges in my life, but it was just kind of a different feeling. And instantly, I kind of knew that something was up because normally, you get hit there, and obviously there might be swelling on that area, but instantly I kind of felt the pressure and it went across. So at that point, I knew I probably didn't have just something normal. If the actual other side of my face where the contact was actually in more pain than where the contact was, I knew that I'd probably done something. But luckily, everything kind of cleared within that night, and they were happy. They were obviously kind of looking at it worst case scenario and best case scenario, and it turned out to be about as good as possible. And as you can imagine, yeah, I'm back out in, what was it, just over 2 weeks, I want to say. So for me, that was pretty good. And yeah, there hasn't really been any lingering effects. Back chewing solid food as well, which has been nice. Soup and smoothies gets pretty old pretty quick. But yeah, no, it was in the end it was about best case scenario. So I think that everyone on our medical team was really happy with the outcome of it. And again, thank you to them because they were the ones that diagnosed it quickly, got out there and got me sorted. So that was really well done by them.
Moments like that reassuring as a player that the medical support is so effective and so efficient, because we've seen serious head injuries in the game or other serious problems develop in matches, but players now, the response time to be dealt with it is so quick.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, especially with head injuries, we've done a really good job with that. Especially, I think, just over the past couple of years have been strides. And it's still a scary part of the game. It is a part of the game, sadly. I know we saw a Honduras player actually go down. That's what Palma had on his undershirt when he scored. He lifted it up. I know I think he's still in an induced coma right now, which is just obviously the worst case scenario. It's frightening, and you see stuff like that, and it does make you think like, all right, if your medical team is, let's just say 10 seconds later, can that potentially be a life altering kind of change? So no, it is really important, and I think that the ref did a great job in that, just to stop it, get them on as quick as possible. And again, luckily mine wasn't as serious as originally feared, but in the off chance that it was more serious, that they can be out there. And again, everyone's so well trained. They've done their due diligence and that kind of stuff now. So I think that we are very much further ahead, especially at the pro level, but at the same time that can still happen at youth levels or things like that, and that's when you get worried about it. So now I was just lucky that I've got such a good medical staff here that were able to take care of me and get me right in the hospital right away, which was nice.
You think we still need to go further though? I mean, after that incident, there's people beside me in the press box saying it wasn't a penalty, it's just a flash of heads, but but I mean, Motherwell, I don't know if you heard the Motherwell manager going on about it earlier on in the season. He had a couple of serious head knocks with players, and they didn't get fouls for them with similar things, where the guy's just a bit late going in for a high ball, but it's more dangerous than a tackle on the ground.
Yeah, it's still like a grey area, I think. It is difficult, so you're both going up for, just for a header, and obviously there might be a little clash of the head, but at the same time is that you do have to think of it, all right, if the ball was on the ground and one guy gets there first, the other guy goes through his ankle, it's probably a foul. So I get it that it is really difficult, and it's probably a bit more, it's a really tough one for the refs, and it's a tough one for VAR, and I think that's also the real difficulty with it. When you go to VAR and you slow those things down to slow motion, anything can get distorted into any kind of way you want. But yeah, I do think it's a difficult call, but at the same time, player safety is most important, and I think that was what the ref did the best job of there. And no, the player who did it was actually he was really sad. And apparently he came up and he was apologizing multiple times to our medical staff, even though I was gone, which was nice. So yeah, I know there was no intent in it. And, I was just happy that we got a pen out of it. I actually didn't know. I was asking. I was like, what's the score? And they said 1-0. I said, who scored? They said, Ida from the penalty spot. I said, what pen? They're like, hey, he won the pen. I was like, oh, really? Okay. That was my first concussion test, I think they did. Not the last one. But, yeah, I know it's such a difficult one. It's such a bang-bang kind of play like that. But I think we got the call right at the end of the day. But, yeah, I've been on both sides of it. It's a really difficult call for the ref. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel your game altered ever so slightly in the Motherwell match? Were you conscious going up for headers or whatnot? Was it in the back of your mind at all?
I think that you want to put it out of, you want to say that it wasn't a bother at all, but subconsciously it's definitely kind of affecting me. But again, it's one of those things, it's probably such a small percent, but even something like, oh, you misplaced a pass, and subconsciously you're probably like, well, was it the mask that did that? And realistically, it probably wasn't, but at the same time that's playing on your mind. It's almost giving you an excuse. And as players, that's the last thing you want to give yourself or even let your mind get to that. So I think that was kind of like the symbolic thing for me, just taking it off. Like, all right, here we go. Like, we're into this. I just needed to be smart, protect my face at the same time. Like, it does feel solid, but at the same time, I don't exactly want to be going up there and getting a Theo Bear elbow to the cranium if possible. And I told him that before the game, and he was nice enough to avoid that. But it's one of those ones that, again, it probably does put you off just a touch, but it's more just your own doing, your own kind of mind playing tricks on you than what it really is doing. Mm-hmm.
And whether it was the mask that turned the result around or not, it was a huge turnaround. And
I'll take part of the credit with the mask.
But it felt like where it was the supporters or the reaction at full time, it felt a huge turnaround. Mm-hmm. Does that resonate from within the dressing room as well? That could be something that may light a fire, or if a fire's needed to be lit. Could that have been the turnaround?
No, I think that, again, we've left it late at that place. It feels like every game against Motherwell has gone down to the wire like that. So again, I think at halftime, the people who needed to speak spoke. And you could tell, like, even the gaffer was like, he didn't even feel like he needed to really have a strong word. He was like, look, you guys have said what needed to be said. Now let's just go out there. And again, we've been kind of tired. It felt like we've done a lot of talking as a group. And it was about time, just like, you know what? Just go and put that into action. And again, I think that everyone just kind of played a bit more free and just said a bit of a effort mentality where just like, go forward, play forward, be aggressive, and what's the worst that can happen? And when we do that, we play free and we just play our football. We do show that we are, a really, really top side. And that was enjoyable. That was one of the most enjoyable halves of football I've had in a while. And I think a lot of the guys felt that too. It felt like it was coming. And again, the supporters, you could kind of tell it turned from them. Instead of a bit of angst and anxiety, it was a bit more like, okay, this is coming, and they could get behind us. So that was definitely a more enjoyable second half. And yeah, I'll take part of the
How
credit
much
with the
did
mask getting
Yang
thrown away.
coming on help you? It looked like you were getting forward a lot more when Yang came onto the pitch.
Yeah, no, he did a good job of, again, putting fear into their fullback. And again, Nick did a good job of tiring them out. It's not an easy job. I'm a fullback. I know as well as anyone when you play 60 minutes against a winger who's lightning quick, and then you see him going off, and now a fresh one's coming on who's just as quick and a really good dribbler. You're going, okay, this is going to be a long night. And I think that's kind of what it was. Again, our fitness levels there, and we really wore them down. So when it came into those last 30 minutes, we kept just wave after wave of it, and I think that was really important to get that result there. Again, yeah, Yang he's an extremely talented footballer. I've said that since the day he walked in the door. He's one of those ones that, he's still a really young player. I want to say he's a 2002 or something. Like, he's really young. I want to say he's like 21 or something, but when he can get, that end product and that consistency to his game, he's going to be a top winger, and because he's shown flashes of it. And again, for a player coming here, his first year in a foreign language, foreign country, I think he's actually done really well. And of course, it's not an easy club to come in, and when you're trying to fill the shoes of someone like Jota, for example, and these wingers that have come before, it's not easy for these young guys. So I think he's actually done a really good job. And yeah, we'll see what the next couple of months hold for him.
Is that maybe something you're looking to do in the coming weeks to get maybe more assists, get in the final third, get those balls along the box?
Yeah, of course. It's part of our game as fullbacks, as you saw with Greg and both myself kind of getting into different areas. Greg more from a half space, putting a ball in, and me more getting to the end line. But no, it's something that we've emphasized. But at the same time, us as defenders, we're defend first. We'll let the attackers do that job. But at the same time, we want to contribute, whatever it takes to get 3 points at this point in the season, we're all for. And if that means me scoring, getting assists, or me just staying back and defending for my life, I'm perfectly fine with doing, and I'm pretty sure all of us are.
The manager's mentioned that there has been a bit of anxiety in the stands, and that's maybe crept onto the pitch at times, especially at home in the last few weeks. You talked about the mentality and the way you played football in the last 20-30 minutes of the game at Motherwell. Is that a case of going into the game tomorrow night, showing that attitude right from the start, so that anxiety just isn't there at all tomorrow?
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, the crowd gets anxious because of how we're playing. So we know that if we play like how we did at Motherwell for that last 30 minutes, that the crowd's going to be fully behind us. And again, it's that feeling of not making the crowd nervous that, something's going to happen to us, but instead feeling like, they can get behind us and, we're going to go out and we're not only going to score, but we're going to score multiple goals. So I think that it's about us showing that, that cleanliness on the ball, but also that passion and that drive to play forward. Of course, there's been some murmurs and some disdain with how slow sometimes our build-up's been, and we acknowledge that we have been too slow at the back, and that comes down to us as the back line, playing forward. And even if it might not feel on, let's play it. Let's get up the pitch, and I think that the crowd can sense that. Again, we're not daft as well. We hear it, but at the same time is that we know what a weapon that crowd can be for us. So it's important for us to get them on our side right from the get-go, because when you're playing against a crowd like that that's relentless and behind their team fully, it is a really, really difficult place to go play. And again, you can see teams within the first 10 minutes sometimes at Celtic Park. They can be beat just because that crowd is all over them, and it feels like they can't even breathe out there. So we need to do our job of getting them behind us, giving them something to cheer for. And again, that's going to be a huge lead into this, this kind of tail end of the season.
You talk about that build-up play maybe being a bit slower than you'd want to. What do you think that comes down to? Is it maybe just not enough risks being taken, people maybe being a bit too safe with the ball at times?
A bit of that, and a bit of, we really haven't had a settled back line. This is the most injured I've ever seen a back line in my entire life, in terms of just one in, one out. Constantly, it feels like every week something's changing. And it's difficult, especially as a back line. That's a place where you really want consistency. But at the same time, is that it doesn't really matter who's back there. We know that we all have the quality to be able to play the way that the manager wants us to play. And again, it's seeing those pictures. It's realizing that, you play forward and play our game. Don't be risk adverse. Obviously, there's moments where, I'm not saying play across your six, for example, but at the same time, it's like step in, take chances. That's something that a Celtic player needs to be able to do. And I think that that's been kind of a learning curve for a lot of us at the back as well, especially some of the new guys that have come in, and also guys who have been here. It hasn't been necessarily the easiest year with that kind of stuff. So I think we've done a better job, especially in that last 30 minutes. You could see when we do just step into things and play forward, it makes the game so much easier and straightforward for us. So I think kind of taking away, cutting away from that super extra safe mode and really going after it gets the crowd on our side, gets us feeling confident, and that's when we play our best football.